Oh man, she did what? Why is the government always lying? That's not your fault. That was your mother's job. I know it sucks. It's hard, but it's fair. If we don't get our heads out of our collective asses, we're gonna be lost in the sauce. You knew he was sorry when you met him at DHS. Come on, baby girl. What's the solution? Look, I know I'm fucked up.
Welcome to the Angry Nerd Podcast. My name is Arshawn Wade, aka the Angry Nerd. The Angry Nerd Podcast is taped live in my mother's basement and brought to you by a few bad life choices and a couple of shattered dreams. The Angry Nerd Podcast is sponsored by the money that my wife gives me out of my SSI check. Money that I get from some chick named Joni and proceeds from viewers like you. So tonight's topic, change is gonna come. Or is it? Let's take a look at what life might look like after the murder, after the looting, the protesting, standoffs with the cops. What are the societal norms gonna be? Is there a way for us to eke out a semblance of normalcy after the things that have transpired over the past weeks? I have some very interesting, ideas. But first, I want to say this, because one thing that bothers me a whole lot is that the narrative is changing. Because when we think about it, initially everything jumped off because of what happened to George Floyd in Minnesota, being murdered at the hands of the police officer. The guy, there's nothing good to be said about that entire situation. And somewhere along the lines, I guess him not being charged with murder, excessive force, anything, him not being charged with any type of crime, it spurred civil unrest. And if anybody who listened to last week's show, I hate to say I told you so. Well, actually, no, I like saying I told you so. I love being able to say I told you so. I'm a one-up kind of dude. And I said that it's not going to be a race issue. This is going to be a us versus the police issue. This is going to be a citizen versus cop issue. This is going to be us banding together against them because we are sick and tired of those folks. Police officers abusing their authority, overzealous. That's what the media likes to tell us, that they're just overzealous. No, they are guys on a power trip who hurt people, who they have been charged with protecting. The only people that I see the police serving and protecting are each other. The police, from my perspective, have only served and protected one another. And they uphold each other when they do wrong, when they do bad things. You know, people like that should be held to a much higher standard because of their training, because of their position. And like I said last week, it's going to stir up some drama that I really don't think that the government is ready for. And as you can see, because mainstream media is doing what they've always done. They've always been the minions of the government. Fox, MSNBC, CBS, all the mainstream media outlets, they have always been like the minions that did the bidding for the government. You know, so they start trying to shift the focus from what the situation is actually about, a lot like they did with Colin Kaepernick. It stopped being about him kneeling to bring awareness toward a bad situation that was happening to a group of Americans in this country, and started being more about him disrespecting the flag and disrespecting the troops and things like that. And that was not even the case. But the mainstream media, these people are magicians. They know how to play this shell game to where you totally lose focus on what the movement is about. And that's what's happening right now. Because what are all the headlines talking about? Looting, violence, demonstrations. We're not talking about the fact that this cop killed George Floyd in Minnesota anymore. No, we're talking about people going out stealing PlayStations and tennis shoes and things like that. Now, this isn't to endorse what people are doing, but I will say that I understand it. See, I live in Arkansas, and Arkansas is a good old boy state, so we ain't just letting folks push us around and tell us we can't go to work and we can't do this and we ain't gonna be able to do that. And COVID-19 hasn't impacted us the way it's impacted most of the country. What does that have to do with anything, Arshawn? I'll tell you what it has to do. Most of the country has been on lockdown since February. I'm talking about millions of people locked in their houses, cordoned to their neighborhood and their grocery store and things like that. So we're talking about a whole bunch of folks who have been pent up, locked up, and now here comes some foolishness. Personally, I believe that the government planted rabble-rousers at the protests to start the looting. I believe that they started, because that's all it takes. Anybody who knows a little bit about psychology knows about how group thought works. So I saw somebody break a window. Yeah, but we're breaking windows. I saw somebody run out with a TV. Yeah, we're running out with TVs. You know what I'm saying? And these people are very savvy at shifting the energy like that, because it stopped being about George Floyd a few days ago, and it started being more about let's go out and tear some stuff up and act a fool. And I kind of understand it, because you guys have already had us locked up in the house for the past few months, and now you guys but the cops are still killing people. The cops are still taking time out of their day to demonstrate violence on American citizens. The most recent of which being Mr. George Floyd. And I've seen several other videos since then where cops are still up to their shenanigans. God, there was one where the guy was supposed to be an FBI agent or something like that, and they harassed the guy for standing out in front of a restaurant. There was another one where they beat up another young man. Thank God he didn't get killed, but they did assault him very badly, and the kid wasn't even resisting. So they're still up to this foolishness. And it's because we, the people, have not decided to band together before now and say, we're not going to take it anymore. But I knew this is what was going to happen, because I'm out here in society. I move around. As a MMA fighter, I go from state to state, city to city, and I come in contact with all sorts of folks. And most people that you meet during the course of a normal day are essentially good. Most people that you meet in this country are not on the foolishness. They're not on the bull crap. And the law enforcement apparently didn't know that. They didn't know that black kids, white kids, Mexican kids, didn't matter who kids, were going to band together and say, look, homeboy, we're tired of this. We're done. Like, we can throw down. It can go down. We are about that life. We are not about to let you guys continue to do this. And I applaud everybody that I saw out there who was protesting. I applaud everybody who's going out marching. I applaud everybody who's standing together as a unified people, saying, as American citizens, we ain't taking this. We are not taking you killing us anymore. We're not going to let you beat us. We're not going to let you pocket check us, because low key, that's what it is. Stop and frisk. If you use a little bit of hood vernacular, that's pocket checking. Let me see your ID. Where's your license? I've committed no crime. Why do you need my ID? Why do you need to come bother me? I pay taxes so that I don't get fooled around with. You're supposed to protect me against the people who live outside of the law, not harass me as a citizen who is abiding by the law. But that's what they do oftentimes. But the point of tonight's topic is this. Too many times in my mid-30s, being a little older than some of my listeners, I have seen movements flare up, and then I've also seen them fizzle out. So as much as I hate colloquial idioms like keep that same energy, that's what I want to charge the young people with and everybody who's standing together right now. Let's keep this same energy after we get done being mad. Because right now, if we don't make something happen after the protesting, after the looting, if we don't make something happen, we have societally and collectively thrown a temper tantrum. All we did was go out, beat up some stores and set some stuff on fire and throw some rocks at people. if we don't continue with this energy until something changes, until we get no, bump voting. I'm not talking about voting. Let's forget about November. Let's march on our state capitals. Let's march on Washington and look, this is what we want. We don't need no ballot because you people have already not proven to be trustworthy. The government is not trustworthy. There is no transparency in the government. There's all this secret clandestine stuff going on, but you just want us to blindly believe and blindly follow. No, bump that. The time for that is over. We are no longer going to be herded around like defenseless little sheep. We have proven that we'll buck. We will buck against the system, and we will cause a little bit of drama for you. Okay, y'all got more guns, y'all got tanks, and you got the Air Force. That's okay. But you're going to have to get on the news, live TV, and kill us. Yeah, go ahead, bring out your billy club. Go ahead, bring out your tanks. Bring out your airplanes. But we're standing here saying we ain't going. There are millions of us. And we need to demand that these people that we put in position to make decisions for us, as silly as that sounds to me, I am totally opposed to government to begin with. Let me say that. But because I'm already in this capitalist, democratic, Republican crap, I have to try to make the best of it. And what that means is simple, small, tiny stuff like the fact that y'all take taxes out of my check and then I get taxed when I go to the store to buy something with the money that you already taxed from the job that I work. You know what I mean? We need to make sure that this movement isn't in vain. You know what I mean? Otherwise, like I said, we just threw a temper tantrum. Hold on, for all my listeners out there on Spotify, podcast, and Podbean, I want y'all to check this out. For those of you who were in Facebook Live, you didn't hear the bomb just go off. That's right. The Angry Nerd Podcast has upgraded its delivery system, and we have a almost state-of-the-art broadcast system right here in my mom's basement. I want to clear something up. I say my mom's basement, but I haven't lived with my mom in like 20 years. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program. But I digress. We need to do something with this energy. We need to take this energy and redirect it. Now we're not mad. We've robbed the Jordan store. We've got all the Jordans. That's over with. We've burned up some houses. We beat up a couple of cops. All right, that's over with. Now we need to take this energy and we need to get it to these people who can make something happen. We need to get it to these people who are next to the people in power so that they can take them our demands, so that they can take them our needs and make them reality and make them something that we can see. I have an issue with something that I've seen. Excuse me. I've seen where Beyonce and Michael Jordan, of all people, I've seen where Michael Jordan has spoken out and said, enough is enough. I've seen where Beyonce said, we're not standing for this. And in the comments, I saw people chiding them. You haven't done nothing in all this time. You ain't cared about black people in all this time. And they trash talked Beyonce and disrespected her husband. They trash talked Michael Jordan. And my thing is this. That's personally, I think people who start that energy are agents for the system. I think they're agents for the system. They're sellouts. We need to root them out, get them out from around us because we got something positive. We have something powerful going on right now. And we don't need people like that derailing the train before it leaves the station. Because best believe the riots and the protests and everything, that's just the train getting started. The train has not left the station. We have not seen anything change in the legislation. We haven't seen anything change in the law-wise. We haven't seen anything happen. We haven't received any benefits from what has been put down so far. We have not seen any type of results so far. Okay? So make no mistakes about it. The train is just getting started. It hasn't even left the station. So what we need to do is get people who would say, we don't want Michael Jordan speaking for us. We don't want Beyonce speaking for us. I get that. But what we do need to recognize is that Michael Jordan, Beyonce, these are people who are in positions of power. Why? Because they have phenomenal financial situations that we couldn't ever fathom. So that puts them in places where they rub elbows with the upper echelons of society. These are the people that we need to get to. So let's not burn the bridge, or let's not sour these people to the movement to where they won't speak for us. We need them up there speaking for us. Let's not get sidetracked by the little small stuff like, oh, Jordan's never spoke up in all these years, or Beyonce's just looking for a photo op. Get your photo out, but take this message up there too. If you want to come down here and stand next to us like you're with us, then you need to be about this business 100%. Don't straddle the fence. Here's a list of the things that we need, and we need you to take them to those folks. And we need those folks to get their tails in gear and get to moving on some of this stuff right now. We need to see results by week's end. That's the kind of thing I mean when I say keep that same energy. Because it's one thing to walk down the street and hold signs and talk a little trash, and I'm not diminishing the importance of that. But what I'm saying is that is not where it stops. Because if that's the case, these people that we've seen rise up and be our voices, they will be snuffed out like Martin Luther King Jr. was. And like the gentleman that I'm dressed after today with a little bit of gangsta involved with my Lakers hat on, but like the good brother Malcolm X. These brothers stood up, they spoke out. And when they got snuffed out, the movement died with them. So let's not let the movement die because now we feel good because we got to tear some stuff up. We feel good because, we got to rub it in the cop's face a little bit. Now let's be about our business. Now let's start sitting down, putting our minds together and thinking of what do we want our society to look like when we come out of this. On the other side of this, what difference do we want to have had come out of this situation? It's a tragedy in what happened to the good brother George Floyd. Tragedy. Let's not let George Floyd, his life, be snuffed out in vain. That's what brought a bunch of us together, was the wrong that we recognized that happened in Minnesota. And that was the impetus to this entire situation, was what happened to that young man in Minnesota. So let's not let that die out in vain. Let's continue with this. The thinkers, there's those of us who, this is what I believe my thing is. It's talking, bringing awareness, bringing a different point of view, bringing a different perspective, spurring some type of action. We need the thinkers to get their heads together. Let's collaborate. We live in the information age. It is a text. It is a phone call. It is an email. It is a DM away. All you have to do is reach out. Let's put our minds together and let's huddle up and figure out what we need. And let's get that. Let's make that happen. I've seen a representation of so many different classes of citizens involved in this. It was beautiful. I did hate how the media, like I said, the mainstream media is a wicked, wicked, terrible beast in the fact that they always try to create the divide. Oh, black people are out here looting. Well, I'm sorry, that's not what I saw. What I saw was people, just regular everyday people. That was the most noteworthy thing about the looting for me, is when I watched it, I watched dozens of videos. I've read dozens of articles. And what I saw, I didn't see thugs. I didn't see criminals. I saw regular everyday citizens going out and looting. Robbing off appliance stores. Robbing off shoe stores. We're messed up out here. After the COVID-19 situation, do you know how many people have been put out of work? They got 40 million unemployment claims. I'm not mad that these people were looting. I'm not mad about it. I think it's unfortunate for the businesses who had this demonstrated on them, and my hope and my prayer is that they had some type of insurance to where they can recoup some money for the damage that was done to their buildings, for the losses that they received. I hope that they can get something. But I'm not mad at the people who are going out there and looting, for the simple fact that I understand so many people have been out of work. So many people have been without money. They've been without food. They've been without a release. I mean, some people have been pent up and cooped up in the house, and they just haven't been able to get out and move around, and they were just happy to be a part of something. But the mainstream media will try to demonize these folks, and we don't want to put the responsibility, the onus for the energy is on the government. It's not on these people. The onus for why this stage was set. All the elements were in place to have this happen. Why? Because the government has failed to take action time and time again. When these cops kill American citizens that they swore to protect, that they swore to serve. And what were we all looking at? We were looking at them setting the stage for this guy to walk away scot-free like so many others have. So you're damn right. People decided to, as I like to refer to it as, look up. People decided to look up and do something about it this time, because we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. You got me in the house. I can't go to work. I can't provide for my family. But you guys have time to ride around the streets and harass people and kill people. Not only that, you have the option to do that and to do it with impunity. We won't stand for it. But what are we going to do now? Anger is a temporary emotion. Anger is temporary. I'm mad. We had a little bit of an outbreak. We busted windows. We acted a fool. What do we do now? I'm open to suggestions. I'm actually looking for suggestions. I'm looking for people that I can link up with so that we can continue to take this to the next level. We're not going to stop with just that. We beat up a couple of cars and a couple of buildings, and that's over with. We're good. We're done. No. Where do we go from here? Please. I want to see it in the comments. Hey, for my listeners out there on podcast, on Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube, if you're wondering who I'm talking to when I say comments, when I talk about the chat room, talking about my lovely friends at Facebook, because I broadcast from Facebook Live while I record this in my mom's basement for Podbean, for Spotify, and YouTube. Boy, that's a mouthful. I got to figure out an acronym so I can get that out. But I am super eager to hear from my listeners. What do we do now? Where do we go? What do we want? Well, do we know what we want? I get the frustration. I know we're frustrated, but let's make it worth something. Let's get something from this. We finally got them where we want them. Because I've said my entire life, as a kid, I always thought, why do these stuffy old men in suits get to make decisions for me and my family? How fast the speed limit is on the road. I always thought about the simplest thing, like who gets to say that? Who gets to say, who gave them the world? Who gave these people the world to where I have to buy land from you? Who gave you the land? We need to start taking a look at that, because this society, capitalist societies, create criminals. We can look at this as a starting point. There are people who will criticize me because I do not deride people who went out and looted, because I don't look down on people who went out and looted. I'll tell you like this. A tree has to die to create space for a new life, for a new tree to grow. In death, there's an opportunity for life. In destruction, there's an opportunity for construction. So that's what we need to think about. What do we build out of this chaos? What beauty can we manifest out of this chaos? Do we have an opportunity to do something great? To do something noteworthy? Do we take advantage of this opportunity and go down in the history books? And in 20 years, the kids will read about us in school. What are we going to do to make our mark so profound that they have no choice but to mark 2020, a year that started out horribly? What do we do to change that energy? What do we do so that when people look back on this in 2040 and say, man, they changed the way that we interface with one another. They changed the way that the cops deal with us. They changed the way that we live in America. They brought about the change that Martin Luther King was talking about. These folks in 2020 brought about the change that Malcolm X was talking about. What are we going to do to manifest that? What are we going to do to make this happen? Because it's a reality. It can be a reality. But it takes work. The same way it takes work to construct. The same way it takes work to grow something. Someone plants the seed. Someone has to water it. It sprouts up. Someone has to take care of the seedling. Someone has to prune away the bad stuff. Someone has to go do maintenance. So it takes work. It takes us banding together the way that we did when it was time to knuckle up with those fools. It takes us banding together and putting our minds together and doing the same thing, but for something constructive. We've been destructive. We've shown the folks we can use force. We can go there. Now we need to show them we don't need them lording over us the way that they have since long before I came into existence. We no longer need you guys standing up there, lording over us, living off of our tax dollars. Most of us pay taxes, can't live half as good as those folks up there in Washington. It's time for us to get rid of the haves and the have-nots. And it's time for everybody to have something. I am a big fan of the school of thought that spurred from anarchism. And that's a term that's been bastardized in this country. That's a term that has been fear-mongered in this country since I can remember. That has been a term that people have feared. Anarchy, anarchism. But some of the tenets in anarchism, equality, true equality. Not this guy has $500 million and this guy is homeless. That's wrong. It's just wrong. And we have an opportunity right now because we don't only have those folks' ears, but we have them scared. We have those people scared. Because without us, the entire system implodes. Without the common everyday man, woman, boy, and girl, this system crumbles. So yeah, they could bring in the Air Force and wipe us out. They could drop a nuke on us. But they lose. Because who's going to get them their venti chai at Starbucks? Huh? Who's going to put together their order from Amazon? Who's going to book their flights? Who's going to do any of these things? Who's going to clean their houses? Who's going to do their dishes? Who's going to do their lawns? We do that. The everyday hardworking man and woman in this country. We are the lifeblood of this country. And that fake, phony excuse of a vote that they give us every November is spurious. It is a farce. It's downright laughable. Now we're recognizing, and I hope we're recognizing, we have real power. Let us not abuse this power. Let us not squander this power that we have garnered for ourselves. And let us not be appeased by mere trinkets, by mere tokens of effort. Let's make these folks, we've seen them scurry up $3 trillion for the stimulus package during the coronavirus. Let's make them dig deep into those pockets. What does the GOP stand for? What is it? Grand Old Party? Is that what it is? It's the Grand Old Party. Let's get some of them old boys digging in their pockets. Let's dial up the GOP. They've been having money since money was created in this country. Let's get those old boys on the phone and let's get them involved and let's get some money up out of them. Let's get some community centers put back up. These kids don't have anywhere to go. They don't have any outlets. They don't have any arts and craft projects. They don't have any performing arts centers. Let's get these old fogies in Washington to unask some money so that we can put in these communities, so that we can start raising up our own police departments in our communities. Let's start getting some of the honorable men in our communities to be police officers, and we won't worry about getting killed. We won't have to worry about that. Because when we have the opportunity to create our own police force in our low-income communities that are comprised of men of the community, we won't have to worry about them killing our kids in the street. We won't have to worry about them harassing us. The trailer park, there ought to be some boys from the trailer park policing the trailer park, not these folks who live on the other side of town. People that don't even live in your doggone city supposed to serve and protect. You can't serve and protect people that you don't live amongst. People who you view yourself as better than. So we need to get them to where they give up some of that money that we've paid for years and years. They need to dump some of that money back into our communities so that we can raise up our own police forces, so that we can build up our community centers. I haven't seen a community center in so long, it's ridiculous. I remember having community centers as a kid. And this was a great place to go, especially if you were poor, because maybe you didn't have video games. You got to play them at the community center. Maybe you didn't have a pool table. Maybe you didn't have a big brother to help you with your homework. There was somewhere for you to go, and there was somewhere that was employed by people you could trust, because typically the community centers were ran by men and women in the community. And we're not getting funding for that anymore. You know what they are giving funds for? More cops, more jails, more prisons. We're getting plenty of funding for that. I heard an excerpt from, what's his name, Joe Biden? Isn't that the guy who was Obama's homeboy? I saw where he acknowledged, the only time I've ever seen this point acknowledged is reading Emma Goldman, reading about anarchism. Capitalism creates criminals. And Joe Biden says, I know that we are partly, if not wholly, responsible for creating them. But I don't care. I don't want them around us. In the same breath, the man acknowledged the fact that this country and the way that it is set up politically creates criminals. He doesn't care. He wants them off the street. He's not looking to solve the problem, which is the wrong that is this country's system. He's not looking to solve that problem. Get these people out of here. I don't care that we created them. Lock them up. Super predators. I heard them refer to black and brown men as super predators. And I just thank the Most High God that there are enough good Caucasian people who recognize that that ain't true. Black people, brown people, white people, yellow people, it's just people, man. It's just people, and if you're still on that foolishness, as you can see, we ain't about that. And we are banding together, and we getting people like you, Joe Biden, out from around us. I love how people act like they never said any of that stuff. I love how people act like they don't know what the problem is. You know what the problem is. The fact that you made that statement tells me that you know what the problem is. And yet you do nothing to fix it. You've been in Congress for umpteen years. That's the problem. We got these people who have become career politicians. We shouldn't allow them to stay down there that long. Somebody as old as Trump is, 77 years old, he is totally out of touch with what I need as a 35-year-old man. Certainly has no idea what my daughter needs as a 15-year-old girl. We need to get some young people like the young people that I've seen jump it off during the course of this whole ordeal. We need to get some young blood down there. We need to get some young folks banded together. We need to have a meeting of the minds, and we need to redirect this energy and see which way we jump with this. Because we are in a prime position to do something that has never been done, not in 100 years. We have an opportunity to really affect some change in this country. Because for the first time in my whole life, I saw where people in this country were united. This has been the first time that I've seen a representation of United States of America. People actually standing together to address a wrong, to say we will not take this laying down. We will not stand for this. Your days of beating us upside the head, your days of knocking around my black and brown brothers for no reason, that's over. We know all lives matter. All lives don't matter until black and brown lives matter too. And you guys have shown us time and again that to you folks that wear that blue uniform who are not for the right things, until you guys get that, we at your neck. And oh man, I have never in 35 years of living been proud to be an American. I've never been patriotic, standing for the flag and singing the national anthem and flying Old Glory out in front of my house. Never once have I been proud of this country until this very week. Until the way I've seen people came out into the streets who paid no never mind to color, who paid no never mind to creed or religion. Just regular everyday folks standing together for the first time. Not afraid that somebody at work is going to see them out here and not totally agree with the fact they're marching with the black folks. Wasn't messed up about none of that. This is the first time in my whole life that I could say that I've been proud to be in this country. It's never been a time before now that I've been proud to say anything with the United States involved in it. This is the very first time. Not because I like chaos. Not because I like bad things happening. Not because I like looting or rioting or anything like that. But because for the first time in my life, I saw what Dr. King was talking about. Black boys and black girls and white boys and white girls. This is the first time I saw a representation of that. And now I used to think very unsavory things about the good brother Martin Luther King because I had some pretty strong views and opinions. But I see what he was on to. Now I see why he felt that it was so beautiful. It was so necessary. Once I saw it. See, when it was still abstract, I have a dream. Once it was still, when it was that, I couldn't fathom that. I couldn't get down with what he was talking about. But seeing all those people marching together like that, that touched my heart. That touched my heart. That gave me faith in humanity, and it gave me faith in this country. But we have to take action. Because let me tell you something. Those people on Capitol Hill, they've been there for a long time for a reason. Because they are very, very good at maintaining their position. They're good at weathering the storm. You better believe that they are somewhere right now in a bunker having a conversation about this. They have the greatest minds in Congress. They have the greatest minds in this country hunkered down somewhere in a bunker trying to figure out what's their next move. They're waiting us out to see what we're going to do. Men and women, boys and girls, please do not let the movement fizzle out as we did with the good brother Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. I hope that the takeaway from this is we're doing something great. We're doing something powerful. Right now, we're setting the stage to be in the history books. Please don't let this moment die out. Man, reach out to a brother, a sister, a cousin, a loved one. make amends where amends can be made. We're stronger together. Even Kanye West, if Kanye wants to come, let's let Kanye come back. It's a time to build bridges. Let's build these bridges. Let's remain strong. Let's remain firm. Let's do it. One and all. In the immortal words of Huey P. Newton, all power to the people. My name is Arshawn Wade, aka The Angry Nerd. I'm signing out.